Now, it's important that we try then to understand love. There are different kinds of love, and I will talk about 3 different kinds. The first kind of love is the love that seeks to fulfill its own need, or what you call self-love, love for yourself. It is a love that seeks to be happy for itself. It is the kind of love you have when you eat your favorite meal and you say, "Oh, I love this meal." Now, you are not showing love to the meal because you are eating it. But when you say, "I love this meal," you're just saying, "I love myself because I'm the one enjoying this meal." Or you listen to a piece of music, and you say, "Oh, I love this music." You are not showing love to the music. You are showing love to yourself. You're just saying, "This music satisfies me, so I love it." When we express this kind of love, it is the benefit we get from the thing that makes us love it. So in reality, it is self-love. Sometimes people express that even in worship. They say, "Oh, I love God." And the reason why they love God is because this God is too good. Oh. So what if he's not good? Are you going to love him? So we love God because he does good stuff for us. That is the first kind of love. It is not towards somebody else. It is towards you. So when you show that to God, you are not loving him with all your heart, with all your might, with everything in you. You are loving him because he makes you feel good. All right? That's the first kind. Second kind of love. It's love that fulfills each other's need. It involves obligation. It requires that you reciprocate in an act of love. In the first kind of love, if you love your food doesn't love you back. If you love the music, it doesn't love you back. But in this kind of love, it is love that you give and you get love back. It fulfills each other's need. It's a kind of love you will call scratch my back, I scratch your back. Hand go, hand come. Quid pro quo. And most human relationships are based on this love. You do me, I do you. You do me, I do you. So, it is love that says, if you want me to be nice to you, be nice to me. If you want me to treat you well, treat me well. In most human organizations, even amongst a band of thieves, there is that kind of love. If you study the mafia, it is there. If you study every society, it is there. You do me, I do you. You treat me well, I treat you well. You're faithful to me, I'm faithful to you. You're loyal to me, I'm loyal to you. This is the kind of love that is based on reciprocity. So the first one, you are getting the benefit. You don't really care about the other person. Second one, you're getting the benefit and you give the benefit to somebody else. Then there's a third kind of love. It's the love that seeks to fulfill the need of others. It seeks to fulfill the need of others. It does not love because it wants a reward. It is love that reaches out to other people. It's love that goes beyond itself. It is beyond the instinct of self-preservation. So when we read, for example, in John 3:16, where it says, "For God so loved the world that he gave," it is referring to this kind of love. Whilst we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. It is responding to this, it is referring to this kind of love. The great love with which God loved us. So, 3 kinds. The first one, you love it because it makes you feel good. Second kind, you love it because it loves you back. Third, you love it because you want to love it. And it's not coming to you, it is going out of you. It is love that goes out of you to something, and there's no guarantee that you'll get it back. So we have to really figure out which kind of love we are operating in. Is it the first one where we are satisfied, or the second one where we make somebody happy, he makes us happy, or the third one where we are only focused on making the other person happy? And which one of these 3 is God's love? Is it the first, the second, or the third? I suggest to you is the third, but I'm going to go through the scripture to look at it. So, remember when Jesus answered the question of the Sadducees, of the Pharisees, he said, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. How many of you really believe that you love your neighbor as yourself? Don't lift up your hand, don't lift up your hand. Because I don't want anybody to lie. Otherwise, then we have to add a new message on lies this morning, which is not my intention. But how many of you really think that loving your neighbor as yourself is the highest kind of love? Many people would say, well, that is the highest kind of love. Okay, remember I asked the question, what if you hate yourself? If you're supposed to love your neighbor as yourself, what if you hate yourself? Then you hate everybody because you love your neighbor as yourself. Is there any love higher than loving your neighbor as yourself? So let's listen to Jesus again. Jesus gave what he called a new commandment. A new commandment. The first answer he gave to the Pharisees was related to the law. But then he gave a new commandment. And this new commandment is in John's Gospel, chapter 13, verse 34 and 35. John's Gospel 13, 34 and 35. Listen to Jesus. A new commandment I give to you. Now, if he's given a new one, it means there is an old commandment. The old commandment, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. New commandment, he's about to define the new commandment. A new commandment I give to you, that you love one another as I have loved you. That you also love one another. By this, all will know that you are my disciples if you have love one for another. What is the difference between the new commandment and the old commandment? The old commandment says you love your neighbor as yourself. The new commandment is you love one another as I have loved you. Not as yourself. The old commandment says you love your neighbor as yourself. So if you hate yourself, you're going to throw hatred to the world. The new commandment says your love is not even dependent on you. You are not the example of your love. You are not the standard of love. Jesus is the standard of our love. Christ is the measure of our love. You love as I have loved you. That's a big one. So, if you think love your neighbor as yourself is the highest, Jesus says this is the new one. You don't love your neighbor as yourself because I don't trust you. If you hate yourself, you're going to spread hatred. If you're insecure, you spread insecurity. If you are mistreated, you mistreat people. If you love your neighbor as yourself, then if your neighbor slaps you, you slap him back. Just equal love. Love your neighbor as yourself. Slap me back. Do me, I do you. Hit me, I hit you. Love your neighbor as yourself. Jesus says you don't love your neighbor as yourself. You love your neighbor as I have loved you. So he's the measure of our love, and he's the model of our love. He's the example. You love as I have loved you. So those who do not love themselves have no excuse here. You cannot say, well, nobody showed me love, so I don't show any love. Jesus didn't say you love your neighbor as yourself. That's the law. But the new commandment says you love your neighbor as I have loved you. So even if you don't have the capacity for love, your standard has been set, and Christ is the standard.